Chet at the studio. So this podcast was really special to me. I had done it earlier this year with the help of Mayor Bob Eustis. It was very special once again for me to do this. So I'll let everybody listen, and I'll see you soon. Today, I was able to get some time with someone who's a very well-known public figure in the community, does great things throughout the country, not just here in North Carolina, not just in Harnett County, but with the technology we have now, this individual can go wherever is needed. So this is great. So without further ado, I want to welcome Miss Melanie Stewart. I will refer to Miss Melanie Stewart, as everybody knows, Mama Moses from Mama Moses and the Underground Railroad. How are you this morning, Mama
I'm
Moses?
doing great. I'm doing great. Running around as usual.
So I want to start off with, this is really unique. So it's a nonprofit organization, which I'm going to have you talk about.
Right.
But you give out your own personal cell phone number. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, we actually have two numbers, and one number we call it the hotline number, and it comes right to my phone for emergency situations. And we are also a part of the National Crisis Hotline Center. So it's important that we have those calls coming through for desperate situations.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We'll start off with, what was the mission and vision statement of Mama Moses Underground Railroad when you initially got started? I believe it was about 12 years ago,
Yeah,
roughly.
it's been about 12 years. I grew up, people ask me all the time, how long have you been doing this? How long have you been doing this? I've actually been doing this as long as I can remember, because my father was a pastor here in Angier, and my mom, they worked together to help the community. And so it's just a part of who I am and what I have seen my entire life. But to form it as a more organized entity, as a nonprofit, opened it up even further, especially when the internet and social media. It was, oh my goodness, that really was the door opener for us.
When people reach out to you, and it's probably hard to say or narrow it down, but what are maybe the top 2 or 3 things that you assist with on a regular basis, just so the listeners know?
Mainly, first of all, food, of course. We have 4 storage units where we store items, clothing, household goods, and even a baby unit for new moms or moms who are struggling. But the biggest thing that we're doing right now is stopping evictions. We have discovered that if we can just stop an eviction before it takes place, then we can keep people in their homes. And what happens that people don't realize is when a family gets an eviction, it not only affects their credit, but it also puts them in a hotel or sleeping in their vehicle. And so then it's more affordable for us if we can just help them stop their eviction. Sometimes they may be short $200 or $300. It's cheaper for us to do that than to pay $80, $90 a night for them to be in a hotel. Since January 1st of this year, we have stopped over 100 evictions. That's keeping 100 families. And the number, the last I checked, it was like 98, and I know we've done a few more, but I know it's at least 100, or maybe a few over. And that is just since January. So the key for us right now, what we're really pushing for, is to just stop those evictions. I call it stopping the bleed. If we can just stop the bleed, we can stop a lot of the situations where people end up in being homeless. And not only that, but I'm so passionate about this, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing is, once they get an eviction, it goes on their record. So who is going to rent to them again? So the hotels right now are just filled with people who are in this situation where they got an eviction and nobody's going to rent to them. I have people in the hotels who've been there for over a year, going on 2 years, because they have this huge eviction on their record and no landlord is going to rent to them. And this could have taken place during the pandemic where they lost their home. So this is the fallout. A lot of this that we're seeing is the fallout from the pandemic.
Yeah, I can imagine there's many families in need. And Earlier this season, Bob Eustace, Mayor of Angier, had mentioned what you do and what you stand for. It's great things and it's wonderful work. As I was doing some research before this cast, seeing the ins and outs of Mama Moses, the Underground Railroad, is one individual was quoted saying that you like to give a hand up,
Yes,
not a hand out.
you're right.
And Mayor Bob had mentioned that
Mhm.
you were about not just giving things away,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
the individuals doing their part to
Right.
get to where they need to go.
Right.
Now, if you don't mind, could you just elaborate on that a little bit
Yes.
more in detail?
Well, it's just like I was saying with the evictions. If they don't have any of their money or they're not working or I have no problem saying no. Okay. We cannot help everybody. We're not going to give a handout. You have to be working to improve your own quality of life and to get out of your situation. If you're not trying, we're not going to help you. And that's pretty much what it is. We're giving hand ups. We want you to come up out of your situation, and we're not going to be enablers. So if you're just laying in a hotel room and you got your baby daddy there and all this kind of stuff going on and nobody's working, and no, that's not what we do. So you have to go through some things with us, some background checks. We vet, we screen, we make sure that you are doing the right thing with your finances. We have people who have been gone through traumatic issues like sicknesses and car accidents, just short, right at that line
Hmm.
from losing their home. That's what we do.
I did do research and all the good works that you do. There's a lot of people out there, and I'm going to go into this. Another thing I've picked up doing some research is a lot of people talk about doing things and
Mm-hmm.
talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things you stand by is doing church,
Mm-hmm.
not talking church.
Mm-hmm.
What's
Right.
the story behind that, if you could
Right.
touch on it?
The story behind that is I grew up in church. As I said, my father was a pastor, went to church all my life. And I watched them doing church, doing the things and I really that's why I'm really passionate about churches and churches getting involved. I'm a strong believer that if churches did by definition that the scripture said a church was supposed to be, there would not be a welfare system. There's a church on every corner. And I have been preaching this sermon, seem like, for years. And churches are starting to get it. By definition of a church, it's more than just going on Sunday or going to Bible study on Wednesday night. You are supposed to be doing things in the community, taking care of the homeless, the widow, all of that, orphans. If churches would do church, just do it, then a lot of these things wouldn't be so much, even on our welfare system. So I'm really passionate about that and getting churches involved. In the winter, whenever the temperature is below freezing or below, I have gone to so many pastors, even right here in the county, and said, will you open just your fellowship hall so that I can bring people in out of the cold? And to this day, I really haven't had anyone that would work with me to do this because they have reasons like liabilities, whatever. And what I try to get pastors to see is the same liability insurance that you pay for Sunday morning is the same liability insurance that covers you if people are in your facility at any time. So take that excuse off the board. So this is what we're seeing. We're seeing churches saying, oh, wait a minute. Just recently, even right here in Angier, Resurrection Church, right here on 210 on Depot Street, they had a rummage sale. And they were able to contribute almost $1,000 to the Underground Railroad. And that we could take and utilize. I want every pastor out there to hear me on this. It doesn't take much, and it is more than just going to church on Sunday, but it's doing church.
And that's the purpose of this podcast. It's motivational, inspirational. This one's going to lean a lot toward the inspirational because
Right.
the works that you do, we want to translate to others.
I am employed with Harnett Health, and I work in the emergency room here in Lillington, and I am a mental health specialist there. So I see a lot of patients who come in, and a lot of times that's what I work with. I see that they are homeless. A lot of people will say, some people love to live in the woods. That's where they want to be, or that's how they want. What I'm trying to get people to understand is that nobody really, truly wants to live that way. If they're saying that they want to live that way and be out in the cold or live under a bridge or what, that is mental. And one thing that we're lacking even here in the county is resources for mental health.
There was plenty more we talked about during that podcast, so I think I'm going to make this a two-part. So this will be the part one. Part two will come out shortly, but it was really a great time. So stay tuned for part two. We'll be coming at you shortly, and I'll see you soon.